Hey, Jason Bradley from Community Solutions, Minnesota. We just started an Instagram account that I want to tell you guys about because we're finding all this great stuff across the state of Minnesota and we have to share it with you. You're going to find exclusive content that is not going to be anywhere else on the web. We're going to give you behind the scenes looks at our podcasts, our tour of roundabouts, the mixed use development that we find, our keynote addresses, all this stuff that is going to have a great story along with it that you can share with your friends and your neighbors so that they understand what's going on in their cities as well. Where can you find it? COMM Solutions MN on Instagram. Thank you very much. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So now please share it, get out there, and let's tell our story, Minnesota. Thank you.
Welcome to our fortress tall. Take some time to show you around. Impossible to break these walls, for you see the steel is much too strong. Computer banks to rule the world, instruments to sight the stars. Possibly I've seen too much. Hangar 18, I know too much.
Always good to start the show with some Gene Autry.
Gene Autry, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Goodness.
I thought that was Back in the Saddle again.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was. Wow, you amaze me with your knowledge of lyrics.
I amaze myself.
You should. You nailed it. I mean, there's nothing more that you could do. This is the Community Solutions Podcast, everybody. Oh, boy, it is November. Things are rolling into completion for 2017. We're looking at 2018. Big year coming up, not only for state politics, but for local politics. I can feel it in my bones. With me, Jason Bradley, is always Andrew Richter.
I'm looking at 2018 and beyond.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember, Community Solutions, we don't we don't stop and not see a forest in the trees here.
No.
Yeah.
But we don't look so far ahead to ignore the present either. It's being able to see both.
Speaking of a forest in the trees, we're both wearing dark green today.
That's nice.
Mine says Wild on it, the Champions of December. And so
I just have a blank T-shirt. That's the way I usually roll. And the fact that it's green instead of black, that says something.
Unusual.
Yes. It means I need to do laundry, apparently.
Yeah, those socks you're wearing, geez.
Hey, now. Oh. Wow, it's been a whirlwind. And in fact, we just got back from speaking with some friends in an undisclosed part of the cities.
That's right.
And,
we're always on location at undisclosed places.
That's right. That's just to keep the liberals off our trail.
And I even took a different car there so nobody can GPS where I'm going. It is super secret.
Oh, boy. Well, if you think that they're tracked, well, maybe they are. I don't know.
You have to be too careful. Remember, a little paranoia is the key to a long life.
That's true.
That's one of my proverbs.
Is it now? See, I'm not paranoid enough. Me, I recently had a birthday, and so I had a steak and potatoes dinner, and I may have not eaten it one day, left it in my backpack, and ate it the next day without refrigerating it.
Oh boy!
Yeah, but I didn't get sick. I've got stomach of steel. I'll tell you what.
So you got any lining left? You might have to get checked.
This is what's going to allow me to live into old age is the fact that I'm impervious to everything.
You get to eat day-old steak, and I'm sitting here eating rice and bananas and Fruit Loops, but yet
Fruit Loops.
Oh yeah,
that's part of your diet is Fruit Loops.
Absolutely, you got to have that energy in the morning.
Oh my goodness!
And it gives me energy to get a good night's sleep. Come on, 2 Fruit Loops a day. I don't know what the saying is. I can't. 2 Fruit Loops a day keeps the weight off tomorrow. I don't know what it is. Here's the thing. I mean, you got to have sugar is one of the food groups. That's my opinion.
It is true.
So you've got to have some of that with milk. So there's my calcium and my vitamin D and my vitamin whatever else. I don't even know. Okay, and then you just you eat. I don't eat much of that steak and potato stuff. Well, I do splurge on the French toast once in a while, and I do the steak fry at the VFW here and there. But that's about it for that. And I really am down on a lot of the red meats. I'm just not having many of them. And maybe it's because I'm not barbecuing. I don't know. But it seems like I've had more of a chicken and rice diet lately.
Wow.
And I even had a salad for my wife, and I had a salad for dinner last week. A salad.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Salad, that's like...
There was chicken in it.
Yeah, you got to have meat in salad. I mean, you got to have chicken and or ham and or bacon
turkey,
bits or
Well,
yeah.
I just remember it being cheese.
That's good.
I got little cheese. I got a dose of French dressing. Now, it was not that much, but it was a dose. But yeah, that was my dinner the day last week.
Wow.
And you know what? I think I dropped 3 ounces the next day, so it's working. Things are going in the right direction.
That's good. That's positive. That's good to hear. Hey, we want to welcome everybody that is now starting to join us through iTunes and through the Google Play Store. It is exciting news for us to be a part of those platforms. And now, if you have a smartphone, and 99% of you do, you are able to just go directly to Community Solutions MN on either of those platforms, iTunes or the Google Play Store, and find our podcast.
Yes, and if you have a dumb phone, still go on YouTube and you'll find us there.
Well, that's true. It works out that way. And can you do YouTube from a dumb phone? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think you can do that.
Well,
but you go to your laptop, go to your boss's computer, whatever you got to do. The phone is smart. The user, I don't know. The two have to meet somewhere for some sort of shared intelligence. It is true, though. We are out on those platforms, so we have just made your lives a whole lot easier. And the nice thing about being on those platforms, it's easy to email a link to somebody. It's easy to share if you really hear a podcast you like and you want your friend to know about.
Like this one.
This one will be a good one, I think. I'm optimistic.
What
personally.
episode are we on, by the way?
Oh.
You don't know that, Jay? You're supposed to be the episode counter.
I am.
Doesn't matter. But we've got all the archives at the YouTube site as well as the blog.
Right.
If you want to go back, we've been doing this every week all year. And then we had some older ones previously, but we go back to January with our weekly podcast.
That's right. And so as we're coming to the close of that, it's exciting, and we're going to go into a whole new year of even better podcasting. If I was to make a New Year's resolution in about a month or so, it would be that the podcasts are going to be that much more amazing next year. I can see it. Bigger guests, hopefully a smaller me. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We just kind of wrapped up some elections here in Minnesota. Not a lot, but some odd year elections. And you and I have talked a lot about odd year elections and how much we hate them.
Yes. Can I bring up something before that, though?
Yeah.
District 281.
Yes.
Okay. The district I graduated from. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Cooper, 1995, greatest class ever.
Well, okay.
Okay. Now, your kids went to Cooper, Jay.
Yeah.
And you have a kid and also still in school.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they sent around something about, I blogged about this Community Solutions website. Jay, rattle it off.
COMM solutionsmn.com.
All right. Now, they are hiring, they are hiring an architect firm.
Yes.
To modernize their school buildings to support the Unified District Vision, UDV.
Which is...
It's not as good as the BST.
No.
Not as good as that. Remember?
That is good.
Yeah, remember, we all remember what that was. I said that enough in one episode.
Yes.
But it's not quite the BST. Unified District Vision. Now, stop for a second. What do you want to bet? I don't even have to look it up.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to look it up. I don't care what's in it. I already know. But what do you want to bet? It's full of those things, like those words like career path and college readiness. I mean, that's probably what you're going to hear in that. Now, I've been waiting all day to say that. Now, listen to the next. Now, of course, that all sounds great. I'm sure that was written by some think tank or focus group.
Yeah.
That we're going to modernize the classroom. So I don't know if I walked into a classroom, what's modern and what's not. I don't know what that means. There's a computer on every desk. I don't know. Now, here is the next sentence. Now, you tell me if this is not the most wishy-washy gobbledygook you've ever heard. School buildings must. Remember, the building we're talking about.
Yes.
Must support modern instructional styles. I don't know, what is that? Teaching in rap or something? And ensure each child receives a high-quality education, ding, ding, another Pee Wee Herman word,
Yes.
in a safe, welcoming, and supportive environment where they feel appreciated. Now, Mr. Superintendent of District 281, I have a question. Will you please show me that classroom?
Well,
Show me a classroom that is, quote, safe, welcoming, and supportive environment where the kids feel appreciated. Now, that sounds like code words for multicultural, we're going to rip on white people, we're going to rip on Republicans, we're going to welcome it. How I hear that.
okay.
Sorry, but that's just, to me, that's all code language for, when I hear multicultural, I mean getting rid of Christianity. That's how I hear that. We're going to put Allah in the classroom. I don't know.
Right.
So, there are 7 firms involved in this. 7 firms. If I'm reading this right. Facility changes are being made to provide the next several decades of education. Again, why is there no example of what is right or wrong about these rooms here? I mean, why can't somebody why do we all have to show up to a meeting and put together a task force to come up with inviting, safe environments?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, and of course I'm good like that, so I did go and look it up. It says their mission, the mission of Robbinsdale Area Schools, is to inspire and educate all learners to develop their unique potential and positively contribute to their community, and that it's committed to ensuring every student graduates career and college ready. Let me tell you, this is a district.
I swear I did not read it.
This is a district where what is the graduation rate? It's not very good.
I don't know.
It's not very good.
I don't understand how they figure that out. I mean, is that who graduate on time the year they are supposed to?
Well, there's that too.
I mean, if somebody graduates over the summer or something like that, how are they counted?
Right. Well,
somebody's held back. I mean,
And they've got 4 key goals. So the classrooms are going to have to fit into these goals somehow.
Okay, classroom in a box we've got.
Yeah. Implement policies and practices that open pathways to academic excellence for all students.
Wow. I mean, but what I want to know, what was the consultant fee to write that?
I don't know.
Because you went, hold on, remember. Okay, Jay, we're Community Solutions.
Right.
You and I need to pitch. I got an idea.
Should we become one of the firms?
We should become, this is kind of like the BST of education here. You and I ought to come up with pathways in education. We ought to bid.
I like that.
We ought to bid on one of these It's like, look, whoever wrote number 1 there, we'll come in and do it for half price, okay? And we'll come up with policies to ensure each child, blah 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 blah. You and I could, I think that's one of our callings here.
I think that might actually work out really well.
I mean, here's the thing: we'll come up with better things and save you money. It's a win-win.
It's true. I mean, implementing policies and practices that open pathways to academic excellence for all students. It's called.
I used to be an usher. I can do that.
It's called. Hey, let's have textbooks that the kids can take home and do homework so that they learn the material, and then maybe they pass the test.
Oh no, no, we can't. There's no logic that can be applied to this.
Well, okay.
Don't you know they've all got to have an iPhone with Chat Snap and all that stuff on that? Yeah, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, you're close.
Insta something. I mean, they got to have that. I mean, they can't live without that.
Right.
They got to be able to text their friend while the teacher's talking. I mean, come on.
Is that an open pathway to academic excellence now, Andrew?
Absolutely it is.
That sounds
They
cynical.
learn how to spell. They got spell check. They got good spell, the red line. I mean,
That's right. Why do you need to learn to spell when you can right-click on something with a red line under it?
no kidding. All right, now, I know you're all boiled over with anticipation. Number two, Jay, hit it.
Utilize culturally responsive teaching and personalized learning for all students.
Culturalized teaching. So, what do we have? Like a different counselor for each culture or something?
No, I mean, but like you said, I mean, maybe bringing in some of the texts from that culture would be a way that it would get done. But personalized learning for each student, that's the one that really gets me. I mean, when you have a teacher, and even if you were able to bring class sizes down to, where do they want them? Like 25, 20 kids per teacher?
Well, to me, that's kind of a misnomer because when you add things like special ed, when you add, I mean, look, if every kid has got a $10,000 figure on their head and you've got 25 kids in a class, I mean, where's that $250,000 going?
Yeah, I don't know.
And nobody can really answer that.
They can't. But to think about it, even if you had 20 kids per class, how do you get personalized learning? I mean, you're talking about like one-on-one, like almost tutoring, I would assume.
Well, maybe they're going to hire Mary Kay Letourneau.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. I think that's hogwash. I think there's no such thing as personalized learning unless you pay for it.
Right.
I mean, a tutor is, I don't know how that works anymore. I don't know. I really have no idea. To me, that sounds like, again, something you read on a piece of bubble gum. It doesn't sound like that's anything. When I see statements like that with no ideas with them, it leads me to say that it's just some statement that with some words that people respond to well.
But and even with personalized learning or culturally responsive teaching, how do we change our classrooms to fit that model? What can we do?
Well, and I'll even go a step further. How does that improve kids' grades? I mean, that's what I want to know. What they learn is what matters.
Right.
And we could talk about being culturally responsive, and I still have no idea what that means. How does that translate into what school's supposed to be doing, which is preparing you for the workforce?
Well, and above, I mean, they say they want everybody to be career and college ready. So if you pander to them where they're at instead of taking them where they're at and bringing them to be prepared to be inserted into the American business culture or the American college culture, I don't understand.
Again, I think they talk way too much about things like career path. I don't care if anybody
Right.
has a career path when they're 16 years old. They shouldn't have a career path to me.
No, unless they're so passionate about something. Like for me, I knew I wanted to be a musician at age 5. I knew it. So for me, I already had my career path figured out. But for somebody who doesn't know what they want to do, I mean, they need to take time to figure it out.
For me, who was playing football and getting in trouble on the weekend, I didn't have a career path, and no amount of cultural,
Right.
would have changed that. I think ultimately, kids need to graduate with knowing math, knowing English, knowing that, and then they take that somewhere. I mean, how many
Right.
people change careers now? I mean, you don't go to work at Ford and retire there 35 years later anymore. It's not what people do.
But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, we have another issue in America, and it's that our country used to be 90% entrepreneurs and 10% working for somebody else. Now it's probably 10% entrepreneurs.
If that,
with 90% working for someone else. Entrepreneurs, I mean, they would go and they would work at their business 12 to 15 hours a day. Then they would come home, and now it's like the expectation with all this politically correct junk is that you work 8 hours a day and you come home and you don't stick your neck out and you don't get involved and you stay in your little cloister. It's not reality. It's not the way that the world works. Great things have never been done by people who put in the minimum amount of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sense of entitlement is also and I think that's part of our political culture too. The feeling that if you're not successful, whatever your measure of success is, it's not due to you.
Right.
It's due to somebody out there screwing you or taking it from it or preventing you from doing it. And I think that our political culture fans that this isn't the land of opportunity. But I'll tell you what, you go talk to somebody, you and I for starters, who are self-starters, which most people aren't anymore.
Right.
And you ask them if you think you and I, do we punch in and punch out when we're doing something like this? No,
I pass out. That's what I
kidding.
do.
I mean, we fall asleep in the shower. I mean, I think that there is, and I think that entrepreneurs actually have come up a little bit, largely due to the internet.
Yes,
I think
that's
it
true.
was less than 10%. It was in the single digits, and I think also risk taking has become so difficult with healthcare, with taxes, and things like that. It's we've put so many roadblocks in front of people who are trying to do that. Small business is creates more jobs than mega corporations, yet we kind of condition people that they're supposed to go work for IBM or something, and like you said, never take a chance, never walk, an acorn might hit you over the head. I mean, that is what we sort of, and I think it's, again, that's a symptom of the public school system. It's a symbol of the one size fits all, and if we went to a system where we had vouchers and you could create, Bob's School of Building and Susie's School of Hairdressing, and that's career path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't mean to belittle anybody either. I mean, if they're truly happy in their lives, if they feel like their life is complete, going and working for somebody else, coming home, being with,
Everybody has a different area they aspire to.
Absolutely. But I know a lot of people that they work in a career, but for somebody else, and they aspire to so much more, but they never do it.
Right. It's not a career, it's a job. I think people try to have something. I think another problem, it's a problem I have with college, generally speaking. People work so hard to have something to fall back on that they never really get to where they want to be.
Right.
You got to go to college, have something to fall back on. Well, now I got student loans, so I got to get a job. And what they really aspired to do, like I always say this, everybody's got a hobby. And you know what your hobby is? Your hobby is what you really enjoy doing. You just don't do it for a career.
Yeah. And a lot of that is just because you don't work hard enough.
Or you don't take the chance.
Or you don't know what to do, so you do nothing, and
then you watch life fly by.
Yeah.
So,
and like you and I have said so many times, we never imagined that we would be out talking about lease revenue bonding. But, There was something about when we took this on, and we already had these personalities driven to learn, driven to pursue, driven to make a change and leave a legacy, not just to make our lives better, but the lives of those around us better. I'm not trying to pump us up and say we're all great. What I'm trying to say is that when this came along, and we learned what we could learn, and we started putting it into action, and then we saw this open up over here, and we can share this with others. And then after starting to share it with others, it's like, now we could actually implement this across the state. And it's something that has become a calling, like we've said multiple times, because of our personalities, our work ethics, and just we seized an opportunity that we saw. It came in front of us, and that's really, how can you make kids ready for that through culturally responsive teaching?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and people get angry with me when I say this.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do everything.
No.
I'll never be able to hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Speak for yourself.
Well, maybe I can bunt it, but I'll never, I'll never sing like Frank Sinatra. I'll never act like Jack Nicholson. That doesn't mean that, that's not belittling me or something like that. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's cut out to be a business owner.
Right.
It does take a certain amount of drive, a certain amount. It's hard on your family if you have a family. I mean, so there are choices that people have to make along the way.
Right.
And everybody has a different ceiling that they want to get to. But that's where I come back to. There's the one-size-fits-all thinking again. We've got to make them all college ready. Well, not everybody is meant to do that. Some people will go on to technical college. Some people will be electricians and mechanics. Some people will go right into the workforce. Some people will go work at daddy's car dealership. Some people will go on to be doctors and lawyers and go to school for far longer than that. How do you tailor make one? Some people will be athletes. I mean,
look at you. You went to wrestling school.
I tried. Yeah. I mean, still got the bad shoulder 20 years later. But yeah, I mean, I it's one of the quirky things about me that I tried out to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that, wrestling school was this place you'd go and you'd do your best Macho Man impersonation, and then they'd offer you a contract. Hey, hey, brother, you go grab a bite to eat. We'll get the papers ready. Boy, did I find out in a hurry that was not. But it also gives you an appreciation for the guys who do it.
Right.
The kind of condition they're in, and the kind of, because I always said they're the greatest athletes in the world. And because they have to be actors, they work, there's no off season. Mm-hmm. I mean, so, it's... That's what I thought. Now I end up talking about local government aid.
Did Cooper prepare you to go to wrestling school?
Cooper did not.
No.
And I did get in a few fights in the locker room, but
that's different.
Yeah, those were real. Yeah. Those weren't predetermined. Now, what's number 3? We can't keep the audience waiting.
Engage family and community members as partners.
Oh, wow.
Well, that would be one thing if you were bringing in like business owners as mentors, but I don't think that doesn't require us to rebuild our schools.
Well, and I mean, engage parents. I mean, when did that become a new idea?
That should always be the ideal.
Isn't that called like conferences?
Yeah. Are they going to put the metal and the auto shops back in? Is that what they're going to do? Wood shop is going to... I don't know.
But I remember one time at District 281, I was watching a meeting and they came up with something new called, quote, Parent Involvement Night. I'm like, isn't that called conferences?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that what that is? I mean, look, some parents stink. Some parents are great. Some parents, probably most of them, are somewhere in the middle. I mean, I don't know how you're going to force... To me, I think... Again, I come back to we've come to the point where what's hurting us, and I've said this before, culturally, is broken families. That's the big thing.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not saying a divorced parents can't be good parent. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there are a lot of absent parents. There are a lot of parents just scraping by. And those broken families. I mean, if you look at the statistics of people who did not have kids before they got married, were not teenage moms or dads or whatever, if you look at their earning power, but you look at the percentage of them that finished high school and the percentage that didn't, there's your path. There's your career path.
Yep.
You do not have kids outside of marriage. You do not have become a teenage mom. You do not. You stay out of gangs. You do that, and your chances of success probably quadruple. If you got a kid at 18 and you're a dropout,
it gets harder. It's not impossible, but it gets a lot harder.
No, it's not impossible, but it's really difficult. Mm-hmm. And then that kid's the one who's, I mean, it's just, half of them become wards of the state almost.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of like, until we change that culturally, and then it's really a problem among, different cultures. I'll just leave it at that before I get accused of anything. But that cultural problem needs to be solved before parent involvement night is going to make a damn bit of difference.
Yeah. And that's the moral of the story here today on the Community Solutions podcast, kids. Stay in school, stay off the junk. It's that simple. So
get off the phone. I just say that, get off the phone.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I mean, this machine, we all used to work at big old desktop computers, and, that's kind of changed, and we've got these computers we carry around in our hands. And for those who do business, it's a valuable tool. And
True, but there's no 14, 15-year-old that needs to be on it all day. I
don't think we're going to be able to put it back in the box.
Maybe not, but, mom and dad and grandma don't need to get the kid an iPhone 8. Okay,
well, that's true.
But go outside and play ball. Go out, there's I know the kids who just bury themselves in computers and games all day and you never see their face.
I think it's one thing if you're gaming. I think it's another thing if you're actually learning how to communicate with people a little bit.
Right, but have we lost face-to-face? I'm always one I've done business on a handshake. And have we lost people skills to a certain extent?
I don't know.
I
think that's up to each parent to kind of teach that. Look somebody in the eye when you shake their hand. A firm handshake is better than a
all I know
wet
is
noodle.
All I know is if I were a parent, no kid of mine would have a cell phone or anything like that.
Yeah, I know.
That's just me.
I told my kids when I need to know where you are, you'll get a phone. And that was, maybe middle school or something like that when it finally happened.
Well, I suppose, but I never had a phone, and my mom and dad knew where I was. So they must have had great radar or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think part of it is people just
maybe it's your kid. Maybe that's the difference too.
Could be. I don't know.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, and finally, engage and empower students by amplifying student voice.
So, we got a new PA system at Cooper and Armstrong?
We're going to have classroom in the round. I don't know. So,
Student Voice sounds like the name of a newspaper.
Yes. Maybe the Village Voice should look into opening that up. But so we've got these 4 key goals, and it really doesn't tell us how are we going to redesign our schools?
How did I ever get educated without this program? That's what I
don't know.
How did you and I ever get? How did we ever get our career path or college readiness without modern classrooms?
I don't know. I don't know how I did that. It's a modern feat of epic proportions.
We used a pencil sharpener.
So I don't get it. And I know we took a really roundabout way to get all that out there. But so if you're in the Robbinsdale School District, if they have these meetings and you can get to them and take a look. They want the community input on picking an architect. I know all of you out there are experts in picking an architectural firm. So,
but see, that tells me, first off, a decision to do this has already been made.
Right.
You're just coming in on the back end of it.
Yep, you're choosing the firm that's going to make the changes
Right.
because they're making the changes.
Yeah, so you're picking from, 7 Ted Mosbys from How I Met Your Mother are out there, and you're picking which one.
Right.
So, I mean, I
I have no idea what that means.
oh, that's a TV show.
Well, I know,
Oh,
but
okay.
never watched
He was
it.
an architect.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I
That's
only
the
watched
tie-in.
it on that one thing on my wife's phone. Starts with an N. Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small company. Maybe some of you heard of it.
I don't. Got me. All I know is you press a button on her phone and a bunch of shows come up.
Yeah. You are.
Oh, I'm getting pretty good now. I mean,
Yeah.
I can almost do it without her telling me for the 12th time.
All right. We better talk about some elections.
Yeah, I mean, some elections, some. You like you said at the beginning how much you and I hate odd year elections.
Yes.
I mean, and to say I hate them is kind of. I'm putting it mildly. I think again that they are a slap in the face to our republic.
Yes.
Not democracy. We're a republic.
That's right.
And they are a disservice to the people who are under them. I want to start. Jay, there was a referendum in Brooklyn Center.
Ooh.
I'm not going to bother reading question 1 and 2. It was too many words. Way, way too many words. However, what I want to point out, they had a special election for somebody named Amy Bailey, who was the only person who ran. One precinct was in this contest.
Okay.
Same thing with the school district question. There were only 4,274 registered voters. Now, Brooklyn Center is a city of 30,000 people. Now, can you explain that? Now, I know part of it's in the Robbinsdale district
There's
because of where
that, yeah.
Northport is there.
But almost all of it is in the
Osseo could be
Osseo School
part of it
District,
because
right?
Park Center, which is not
Yeah.
that far away, and some of it, 4,000. So we have an entire school district
right.
for 4,200 and what did I say? 74 voters. Guess how many people? Now the referendum passed.
Okay.
Question 1 passed 54.5% to 45 point something. Then question 2, which was a bonding question, $29 million. 53 point something to 46 point something. Guess how many yes votes were for question 1? Now, you want to talk about a disservice?
Yeah.
Okay, and Brooklyn Center has tried everything from, elections right before Christmas to whatever.
Right. So tell me again the number of total eligible voters.
Registered voters as of 7 a.m. on
registered, okay.
November 7th, which was last Tuesday,
Yeah.
or the Tuesday of the election. 4,274. How many people do you think voted yes on that referendum?
537.
537 people didn't even vote.
What?
You're not peeking, are you? I told you not to peek.
No, I'm not peeking.
How many people voted yes on question 1? 280. So think about that is 6.5% of Brooklyn Center's precinct, whatever precinct this is,
Have fun paying that off.
decided a tax for 4,274 people.
Oh, my
Question 2 got
goodness.
274 votes. The person running for the school district was elected with 372 votes. So out of the total, that is an 8.7% of the people from Brooklyn Center elected. I don't know who Miss Bailey is, but Amy Bailey, and I don't know her, but she got elected. It was a special election, so it must have been a vacancy.
Right.
She got elected with 8.7% of the eligible voters voting for her.
Oh, my word.
Now, you still think these are not disservices to the city of Brooklyn Center.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's.
I mean, that's as bad as I've seen.
I mean, a referendum passed with 280 votes.
And you all get to pay for it for the next how many years? Congratulations.
Who knows?
Oh, my
Too long.
word.
Now, I'll tell you what, there's another one I want to bring up,
Yeah.
and that is the referendum in St. Francis.
Okay.
Now, you remember, St. Francis rejected a referendum in March. This is how unfair school referendums are to taxpayers.
Okay.
If they pass, okay, no voters don't get a do-over. They could say, oh, nope, let's have another election in a year.
Right.
It's over. If the school district loses, they can come right at you with another referendum. They can change up the questions a little bit.
Right.
Or break it into 2 questions, because we've seen that little trick. And they had a referendum in March, which was deliberate, to try to make it so that it controlled how many people voted. Okay. There are, in this district, 20,094 residents, 20094.
Okay.
The referendum passed with 52 point something to 47 point something. It's actually quite close.
Yes.
Okay. The question, blah, blah. General obligation bonds not to exceed 80 million.
Wow.
80 million. Okay. How many people do you think voted yes for these 20,000 residents? No peeking, Jay.
20,000 residents or 20,000?
There's 20,000 registered voters.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
I'll give you a hint. It's not as bad as Brooklyn Center.
I'm going to say...
But it's still pretty poop-thetic.
I'm going to say 1,100.
Okay, this time you're low.
Oh.
2,574 yes voters.
Okay.
About 13% of the registered voters voted for this. 2,346 votes against. So it was about a 200 and change margin that it passed by.
Wow.
But once again, this is the second referendum in the same year, which is really dirty tricks to me, because you shouldn't be able to. You get a no vote, you shouldn't be able to just come right back at the voters. That's just crazy. And I might want to bring up something else here.
Okay.
The no people have everything against them. The unions collude with the school board and one political party. And basically, they print out propaganda. They totally control the messaging. Mm-hmm. I mean, no voters really have their work cut out for them to try to get anything stopped.
Oh, I know. I mean, I remember the last time that there was a referendum here in Robbinsdale, and all the football games and the concerts and whatever, there were people handing out vote yes, vote yes, vote yes. And there was not a single person handing out anything anywhere that said vote no.
Yeah, I mean, vote no wasn't organized, but again,
but they've got a captive audience. They wouldn't have let vote no in to the event.
Oh, I'm sure
it's a school event. Come see your kids, so you're not a bad parent. Oh, by the way, here, vote yes.
But yeah, they totally control everything, and if the voters reject something, they can just bring it back in a year or 6 months or whatever it is, and pretty much go forward with the same thing.
Right.
So it's completely unfair. It's totally unfair. Something, again, 2 things would fix it.
Yeah.
1, a law saying they can't do that. And 2, some school board members, maybe, and maybe if one political party didn't sit out these races.
Well, there's that.
Pick their nose while taxes are being raised all over the place, or go to Washington and get other people's tax dollars here.
Yeah.
Maybe those things wouldn't happen.
Right.
So that's just kind of my rant. But we got to bring up Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Do we? Really?
I know how much we avoid those cities, because if my thing is, if they want to be East Germany and North Korea, let them.
Yeah.
I don't care about them anymore. As far as I'm concerned, they're separate countries.
All right.
But how'd you like to be a voter in Minneapolis? First off, we have tanked choice voting.
Yeah.
Which is dumb enough on its face.
Yep, and we've got a podcast coming out.
Yes, about ranked choice voting.
Yeah, or
Absolutely.
it's out, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Who remembers? We don't remember what episode this.
No,
is.
we talked about it. It's out there. Go for it.
Yeah, ranked choice voting,
Yeah.
and then you've got on your ballot. Minneapolis identifies parties.
Right, which they shouldn't be doing for local races.
No, and so it kind of reminds me of countries voting under the Iron Curtain.
Right.
Yeah, you got to vote, but it was which one of the 5 communists are you going to vote for?
Right. Yeah, I mean, all of the top vote getters were from the same party.
But tell me, okay, Jacob Fry wins.
Right.
Booby Betsy loses. Okay. Tell me any differences between those two.
I couldn't tell you. I didn't follow that race.
I didn't either,
because
but
it's Minneapolis. It's
but I mean, tell me a substantive thing. Okay, you can say Hodges was a flake and all that, and okay, fine. But the guy coming in is just as crazy.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. I mean, Minneapolis has not had a mayor that has come in serious about curbing crime, especially downtown.
No, they're all paralyzed by political correctness and housing is a right, and we got to build bike paths, and that's what they focus on.
That is it.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a city I don't even really want to set foot in. If it wasn't for the Twins didn't play there, I don't think I'd ever set foot in that city.
Yeah. I can understand that.
And, Minneapolis, my grandmother lived there.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't so long ago that,
My mom grew up, went to Roosevelt High School.
I mean, I would never go as far to say it's conservative.
No, but, it was at one time, it was, it was a city that wasn't...
crazy.
A left-wing dictatorship.
Right. Yeah. It was more balanced. I mean, it wasn't ever balanced, I don't think, but it was more balanced.
Probably hasn't been balanced since the 50s or 60s, but I think the difference is now there is such fear of doing anything that can be considered racist. And this is by the left standards, which is, you disagree with them and you're a Nazi.
Right.
So, you talk about mayors not doing anything to curb crime. Well, what are they going to do that violates their code, if you will? They're paralyzed by fear.
It's true.
So, to me, nothing's ever going to happen on that. And I'd hate to be a police officer in Minneapolis. I wouldn't do that job for $1 million. Yeah. I wouldn't.
No, as someone who has a brother that is a police officer, not in Minneapolis, thank goodness, I just know how much he has to take, and to then be in Minneapolis, ugh. And I'm not saying that as a racial statement, because it's not. There are all walks of life, all stripes of people. You have bad people, generally what
bad people know no race, they know no gender, they know no. They're like, it's like cancer. It doesn't care what you are.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know what. That's a whole other podcast. What do we do about crime? But I
got a few ideas.
I got a few ideas too. But Minneapolis, you used to be a beautiful city that people would come to and be excited to come to, and now you've handed it over to special interests, and whether it's the bicyclists, whether it is the people who don't want to use plastic bags, whether it's...
Don't want to drive, don't want a transit-oriented development.
You're only shooting yourself in the foot, because tourists are coming to the area and they're staying away from Minneapolis, I think, and they're staying A lot of them are going to Bloomington because of the Mall of America, and they're staying down there.
And even that's
area.
not becoming the best area either.
A lot of the business people are coming out 394 to the Golden Valley St. Louis Park corridor off of 394. I'm not saying that the hotels downtown are
area.
empty, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that I think that Minneapolis has taken some serious hits, and they're not helping themselves with their policies.
They're a city on the decline. We just call it that.
Yeah.
Minneapolis has seen its best days. You go across to St. Paul, and the situation doesn't get a lot better.
Oh, no.
And that's a city that is, it's almost like they're Minneapolis's little brother, or they're almost jealous of Minneapolis, trying to become just as terrible as Minneapolis. And I'll tell you what, I mean, St. Paul's got its work cut out for them, but they're getting there. And just
Right.
another just joke of an election. I mean, when you have 13 candidates in a race, I'm sorry, that's a joke. The idea anybody who comes out of that has any kind of mandate to do anything.
And how do you get to know 13 people well enough to be
How
able
do they
to vote for them?
campaign citywide? There I go again. How is this serving the voters?
Well, I think they have to campaign citywide, and the good thing about St.
Well,
Paul
if
is
they
it's a
absolutely.
strong mayor city. I mean, that is the good thing about St. Paul. So you have an executive. So, yes, that executive should campaign across the whole city.
True,
but
but I
yeah,
think
how do
it's-
13 people do it?
And how, as a voter, do you educate yourself on 13
Yeah.
people's But why are there no primaries over there?
There should be.
Why don't we narrow this down? Why don't we get you get a mayor who gets 20% of the vote, or whatever, or however ranked choice voting works? I still don't really get it. How does anybody say they represent the city? I mean, it's
Right.
stupid. I mean, go back to 2005 in Minneapolis when RT ran against Peter McLaughlin.
Yeah.
There's two people in that race.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like either, or I'm not, a fan of either.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that had to be a campaign.
Right.
You couldn't just pick out some sector of votes to go get first place votes.
Yeah.
You had to campaign everywhere. You had one opponent, and just think how now you get a ballot and there's 20 people on it and you've got to rank them. I mean, both cities should hang their heads in shame of how stupid their systems are. So there.
Yeah. Even Duluth wasn't dumb enough to go down that road. And
They tried it there. I mean,
Yeah.
they tried to do that.
So, I mean, those are Duluth had elections as well. I mean, all of the three biggest cities in Minnesota do the odd year elections. I know why they do it, although I think they would still fare the same in the even year just because of how far they are given over to their side of things. But there were other places in the state that did have some elections. We pick on St. Louis Park quite a bit lately. They had odd year elections, and they had 31,000 plus registered voters, and about 7,200 showed up.
So about a quarter.
Yeah. So 25% of the people showed up in the open races, they picked somebody, but when there was an incumbent, the incumbent won. So there was one uncontested.
Do they have wards?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that was all by wards. There were 4 wards up this year.
Really? That's a lot. How many? They got 8?
It's a 7-person council. I'm trying to remember if they have 4 wards, a mayor, and 2 at large, I think.
So the mayor and 2 at large?
I think so.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter.
find out.
I'll go to their neighbor to the west, Hopkins.
Yeah.
10,251 registered voters, about 2,000, little over 2,000 actually showed up.
Wow.
So maybe a 21% turnout in Hopkins. So,
Yeah, it's not great, Hopkins.
that is awful.
It is pretty bad.
let me see what other cities I can pick
Well,
on.
Golden Valley, our friends over there, that was all at large, and that was, but again, they have like 15,000 registered voters.
Really?
over
They
there.
have that many? Wow.
Yeah, 14,945 to be exact. You know, and it looks like, if I were just to eyeball this up, that they must have had.
Remember, everybody votes for 2.
Yeah, they might have had about 6,000 actually show up, which.
No, now everybody votes for 2.
Oh, that's
So
right.
if you
So cut it in half, so
that.
3.
So
they had maybe 3,000 people
20-ish
show up.
percent.
Yeah.
let's go to Minnetonka.
Ooh.
Mayor was up. 2 of the council seats were up. Oh, they were at large.
Mm-hmm.
But they were contested. Let's see. 36,599 registered voters. I would say less than 7,000 showed up.
Yeah.
Maybe it was less than 20, about 18%.
Oh.
That is also
Yeah.
putrid.
How about Lino Lakes? Lino Lakes is a pretty conservative area. They've got Republicans representing them at the state level all the way across. And how do you think they did? I mean, when it's left completely to conservatives to come out and rally around their people.
And the apparatus, the conservative apparatus, we know that goes out and does that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say they fared terrible.
Okay, 12,624 registered voters. Give me a guess. How many people showed up to vote? We'll just pick the mayor's race here.
2,000.
No, more like 1,800. Now, granted, he ran unopposed. Okay, so if I were to tally up the rest of, what you could elect 2 because they do at large.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. That. Yeah, I don't think that it got much, many more people out. I think everybody that came out voted for mayor the way that it looks like. So, yeah, that's terrible. 1,800 people.
I'll do one more school referendum.
Okay.
I'm trying to find a few that were defeated, but this one was passed. Hastings.
Ooh.
Independent school district. 200. If they're independent.
That's funny.
19,707 registered voters. The yes passed with 66% of the vote on question 1, 61% of the vote on question 2. How many people, Jay, voted yes on question 1?
How many registered voters?
19,707.
Ooh, 19,707. I am going to guess that 775.
Boy, you are way off.
Oh.
You thought 700 people out of almost 20,000? 2,910.
Oh.
Which
I
is
undershot.
well, maybe a quarter of the people voted.
Yeah.
In that, maybe a quarter.
Wow. So for those of you who are keeping track at home, I don't know. We should have said maybe at the beginning of this that you guys should be keeping score. But neither of us are faring very well. But our guesses are a lot lower and closer than I think what people out there would have guessed.
Probably. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Wayzata School District had maybe the closest race. Oh, actually, they didn't. Listen to this.
Yeah.
3 school board members were up.
Okay.
Only 3 people ran.
Huh.
One of them got 4,240. One of them got 4,219. One of them got 4,100. Referendums passed by a wide margin, but again, you're looking at about 6,500 voters maybe for 42,167.
Well, is this a problem just in the metro, do you think, or do you think in greater Minnesota it's the same issue?
I think it's as bad, maybe worse in greater Minnesota.
I don't know. Here's International Falls. They had 2 referendum questions on the ballot. They have 5,453 registered voters. How many people do you think voted yes?
4,000, did you say?
5,453.
I'm going to say 600.
Voted yes? 1,052.
Oh, wow.
And there were 579 no votes. So about 1,600 people showed up to vote. So that fares a little better. Well, I mean, that's maybe 30%, right?
Whatever it is, it's no Gouda.
It's not good, but it's maybe a little better than some of what we're seeing elsewhere.
Well, let's stick with out of town Hinckley School District.
Well,
Hinckley combined with Finlayson.
yes, Finlayson. Yeah, Finlayson. Yes,
whatever. I call it Finlayson.
Yeah, Finlayson. Yes,
3,808. That's all there is for registered voters.
Okay.
Of course, the yes vote passed in the first question. The second question, it passed by 4 votes.
Wow.
What do you think? Out of 3,808, Jay, how many people voted yes?
Oh, out of 3,000?
3,808.
I'm gonna say a grand.
You think 1,000 voted yes?
No, 1,000 total. I'm gonna say that there were 700 that voted yes.
There were 486 that voted yes, 395 that voted no. Wasn't even 900.
Wow.
And again, the school district elect 4, and there were like 10 people who ran. The leading vote getter got 512. 512 votes.
Yeah.
How does that joker represent anybody? No offense, Angela Savorak Gronkowski. I mean,
that
whatever.
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then the other one is Jody Storlee with 448 votes, narrowly beating somebody who had 430. What's up with the 3 names here? Mary Ellen von Ruden, and then somebody else at 386, Stephen, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name, Guggenheimen or something. So, I mean, again, just the whole thing about this is, how do you get your best representation when, and first off, it's a problem on 2 levels. One, people not voting.
Right.
You're not paying attention, and that's problem number 1. And then number 2 is, how do these people claim to have a mandate or for anything when they're getting 10? I mean, this school district person got 14% of the vote. Not one.
It's terrible.
Now, come on.
So I think that you all can see from these totals that the number of people that go out to vote in these odd year elections, it doesn't do anybody any good. And you have a vast minority of people that are choosing your leadership and how much you're going to pay in taxes. And that's part of the reason they do it, because they can count on you to stay home. You know, they mobilize their base, and somehow they're able to do it. And
end of story.
End of story. And they're able to mobilize because of the teachers' unions, and
or the local party is able to gin up their 500 voters that come out.
Right.
And one party does a good job of that, and one party does a terrible job of it.
Right.
Sorry, but it's true.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, but it's the same with just local elections in general. And I think that other side is starting to get better at it, and a lot of that is due to us sounding the alarm. But I think it takes time to turn a big ship. It's not anything that can be done immediately, and patience is the name of the game here, people.
Well, and if you've ignored something for 50 years, 1 year isn't going to turn it around. I mean, sorry,
right.
But that's just the truth of it.
Right. And that's why patience is so important. We want to see immediate results a lot of the times, and it's not something that we can make happen. In Crystal, I mean, it took us 3 election cycles to be able to turn the tide and to get rid of the old council and sweep them all out and have new, fresh faces with new ideas able to come in and have enough people to have their way. Where, a lot of us want to see one election cycle. We want to see stuff start happening. We've got a clean house, and this starts at the federal level and comes all the way down to the local level. The counties, the school boards, the city councils. We have to get rid of the people that have been stonewalling and allowing people like the American Planning Association and the National League of Cities to dictate our policy for decades. And we've had one group that's been in power, and they've been more than willing to allow them to do it because the ideologies match. And so we have to play long ball here, guys. We have to be patient. We cannot expect overnight results. And that's why I say, bringing a group like ours in to help consult and to help, train people and to do the right things, it's so important because we've been working on this for 10 years almost. And we've got this knowledge base to shorten your learning curve and to be able to help you understand how to begin to turn the tide. But to imagine that in one election cycle we're just going to go from having nothing to holding it all. It's not realistic.
Right, and I would add to that too. It takes time. It takes money. It takes volunteers. It takes a team. And I think for the most part, a lot of these local political units, we'll call them, have been left out in the cold. They've been left to just do this by themselves while the machine on the other side has got everything going guns blazing. And
right.
I mean, whose fault is that?
Right. Well, I mean, how many times have you heard in all of your political volunteering, election's over, it's time to take the rest of the year off, and, I mean, it's the truth, right? And the other side,
there's no off season.
No, there's no off season. They're back at it day one. And when our side comes back to it sometime in January, it's pretty slow. It's not a lot of serious business unless you're preparing for your caucuses and you're preparing for conventions. But the actual job of getting out there and recruiting finding people, it happens so much later than it should. I mean, that's work that should be happening in September, October, November, December.
And here's the other thing. I mean, somebody may not be ready to run for office right away.
That's true.
You got to be able to look them in the eye and say no. Your path, your career path, we'll give it a little District 281 spin. I'm going to give you some election readiness here. You can run in the future, but you need seasoning. You need to get involved. You need to get on a commission. You need to volunteer on somebody else's campaign. We've told the story about people we helped elect in Crystal who we met 2, 3, 4 years earlier.
Right.
And they got somewhere first, and then they ran for council.
Right.
So that's kind of another step to not gloss over.
Exactly. So, as we wrap this up, we just want to say that long term, we need to look at making all elections even year because it's going to involve more of the voter base, which is a good thing. I believe anytime that you have the majority of the community speaking into your electoral process, that you're going to have a much happier electorate with the results. And if they're not happy, then they will replace whoever's in there.
But they have to have choice.
They do,
and kind of thing too.
And by having choice, it means having time to vet and learn about these candidates, and having 50 billion candidates run at the same time with no primary doesn't help. Just like having early voting start 2 weeks after the filing period doesn't help either. So we have some problems, Minnesota, that I think that we need to address and take a look at in order to fix our electoral system and get it to a place where we can begin to right the ship. And like I say, it takes a long time to turn, but we can do it. So I guess if there's any takeaways from this, it's that. So as you're processing what we said today, we want you to get in a place where you can just do some thinking, especially as this year is winding up. Think about how things have gone for you, and have they gone really well? Well, if so, great. But are you really happy with the way that your city's being run, your school district's being run, your county's being run? Maybe it's time for you to sacrifice a little bit and step into the fray and help.
That's right. Get off that rented sofa with the springs sticking out of it and do something.
We could really use your help, and I know Minnesota could really use your help filling just one of those 30,000 elected and appointed seats across the state.
Heck, getting the appointed seat should be nothing.
Exactly.
It should be, especially in certain areas, they should be filled.
It's
with
true.
Certain people.
It's
the
true.
fact that they're not is where the ball's being dropped.
Absolutely. So, if you're interested in that at all, or maybe you notice something in your area that's not quite right and you need help getting the word out about it, or maybe you want us to come speak to your area about what we've encountered or teach you about how comprehensive plans are written, any of it. That's why we're here. So contact us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. Like I said earlier in the podcast, you can go directly to iTunes. You can go directly to Google Play, and you can hear this podcast. Just type in Community Solutions MN. We're all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's all out there. And don't forget to stop by our blog, commsolutionsmn.com.
Yes, you can read all about the Robbinsdale facility.
It's good.
Modernization.
It sounds good. It sounds exciting.
My comments are in black. Their comments are in blue. Because you'll get black and blue when you're done reading.
Oh, it's good stuff.
I tell you what,
Yeah.
when here's the thing. I have so many things to do when I become governor. I just don't know that 2 terms is going to be enough. I'm just thinking all the things we have to fix.
That's true.
Not just in St. Paul, but I need my allies out in all the cities. After we get all the cities done, then I'll step in and run for governor.
Is that how it's going to work?
I think so.
You're not going to follow your own advice and go from the city level up?
Nope,
Okay.
I'm not. Isn't that terrible?
Well, I guess we have a little bit of a platform, so it's not like you'd walk in an unknown commodity, but it's
Am I an unknown commodity, Jay?
less and less so.
I think so too. I mean, and that may be good or bad depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But no, we talk about these. I just say one last thought here.
Okay.
We talk about these 30,000 positions, and we ought to mention that about a third of them are not elected.
Right.
And some of them that are elected, there's counties that elect an auditor.
Mm-hmm.
There's counties that elect a clerk.
Yep.
There are, townships that do that.
Yep.
And then the appointed positions like planning commissions was the big one. But remember, 853 cities, and if your average planning commission is 5, 6, 7 members, Crystal's was 9.
Right.
Times that by 853, and you got a lot of spots to fill with one commission. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you put it in terms like that. 5's probably the smallest, but then they've got park boards, charter commissions, and charter cities. You can see how filling these seats up with conservatives or with people who disagree with the Met Council or are going to think independently or they're liberty-minded or whatever you want to call it. How that can happen. Some of these things will take election cycles.
Yep.
Some of these things can be done right away with the right volunteers.
That's true.
So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. And then once you have the experience on that commission, you're in a much better position to run. You've got some street cred. You've got some. You got kind of a thing to campaign on that you've been in the inner workings.
One night a month.
Yeah.
In most cases.
So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That's
about.
good.
You chew on that for a little bit there while you're sitting on that rented sofa.
All right. So you've heard enough yammering from us tonight. We're going to put a wraps on it, but do get in touch with us. We love you, Minnesota. Now it's time for you to get to work.
Take my life, caught a break between the lines. Don't let me be. If I get too caught